Welcome back to Season 4 of the Sober Motivation Podcast. Join me, Brad, each week as my guests and I share incredible and powerful sobriety stories. We're here to show sobriety is possible, one story at a time. Let's go! In this episode, I'm joined by Faye to share her journey through childhood, family dynamics, and the challenges of alcohol use. Faye opens up about growing up around parties, the impact of her parents' separation, and how alcohol became a coping mechanism. She discusses her experiences with blackouts, social anxiety, ADHD, and the turning point that led her to sobriety. We explore the process of self-discovery, building healthy relationships, and the importance of community in recovery. And this is Faye's story on the Sober Motivation Podcast. Good to have you for another episode. Brad here. My kids went back to school today after summer, so it kind of feels like that's the end of summer. I mean, it's still nice weather out, but that feels like an end to it. And I think there's this big shift that can happen in our lives at the end of summer and ready for the new season. And I noticed a real big uptick of people getting curious or exploring not drinking anymore. A lot of new people joining the community. And I think some of that has to do with summer leaning into drinking. But then I think if we're honest and we look back, it's all the same. I don't know everybody's experience or story, but a lot of what I've heard and my own experience is that we always end up in the same place, and it just often goes the same way. And we find ourselves stuck again and maybe wanting more out of life, or maybe wanting to change careers or have better relationships, or just simply feel better in the morning and maybe not waste the days away and with the anxiety and struggling with the mental health, due to drinking or whatever it is, all of the chaos that comes with a life of drinking. So if you're looking to make some changes, right now is a great time to jump into the Sober Motivation community, check out the meetings, get connected. I saw one of our new members the other day. There's a 30-day free trial, so you have an entire month to decide whether it's for you or not, or even whether if you're at a spot where you want to quit drinking. If you're wanting to attend the meetings and kind of commit to that journey as well, you have the 30 days to decide, and maybe just checking it out could be helpful. I had somebody post in the app, though, that their membership, their 30-day free trial was expiring, and in that the easiest decision they could ever make was to continue on with things, just plugging into meetings and connecting with other people. And it's really interesting because we've had a handful of people too join that are maybe a little bit further on in the process, maybe close to their year of sobriety, and have done the journey on their own for the most part. Maybe a little bit of therapy or a little bit of connection here or there, a couple books, but never really had that community connection with other people that are a lot like us that are going through it. And when they join and they share, it's always consistent. Man, I wish I had checked it out my first day. I wish I had checked out something like this. It doesn't have to be the Sober Motivation community. There's a lot of incredible communities out there of people, maybe in your local community, maybe virtually. I think virtually is a great stepping stone to in person while you get more comfortable and confident and sharing and talking and communicating about the journey and sort of uncovering all of the different things we learn as we go through this, because we learn, I think, pretty quickly that there's more to all of this than just not drinking. I think we learn that pretty quick, and you can learn a lot from others. So if your summer is kind of like over, air quotes, like mine, and life is starting back up and it's going to happen fast, and it's on your mind that you just want to check something else out, or you've already been on the journey and you want to get connected with some other like-minded people that are going after it too. We have this really cool meetup in Toronto too. I'm excited about for community members. That's going to be at the end of September, where we're all going to get to meet and hang out for a weekend. So that's going to be really cool. But that's just a quick ramble for today. Didn't have a show last week. The kids were out of school. We're getting all that stuff ready. I just decided to just really lean into that. Hang out with them, spend some time with them before everything just really picks up here really quick. So yeah, thank you guys as always for listening to the podcast and being patient with me with releasing episodes. I know every other podcaster out there, I think probably everyone has a day and a time where they post their episodes. And if you guys have followed me long enough, you know that there is no day and there is no time. It's just whenever I get through editing the episodes and publishing them. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I really do. I love to hear from you all about how the podcast is helping and how the stories are helping. And I can't take all the credit for that, nor would I. The guests come on here and they're extremely brave and they share their stories and they share them to help others. And in turn, I think it really helps them as well to put it out there, put their truth out there. You know what they say, the truth will set us free. So thank you guys for hanging out. Now let's get to Faye's story. Welcome back to another episode of the Sober Motivation Podcast. Today we've got Faye with us. How are you?
I am so good. Thank you so much for having me, Brad. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Was excited to get connected on this and share your story with everybody on the show.
So exciting. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So what was it like for you growing up?
Yeah, so growing up, my parents, I'd say, used to throw a lot of parties. So yeah, from about maybe 8, I used to watch mum and dad have parties. If we weren't throwing the party, we would be at somebody else's house having a party. So straight away, I think I got that association that alcohol equals fun equals party equals socializing. So quite young, I saw and got really curious with alcohol. Also, though, whilst growing up, I did watch my mum have a 6-year break from alcohol, which was really amazing because me and my mum's drinking styles are pretty similar. I think we've both had quite problematic relationships. So I witnessed her have 6 years away from alcohol, and that was an eye-opener. That was absolutely amazing to see that actually you can do life a different way without alcohol. My mum did return back to drinking, and after that, because we know what alcohol is like, we know what happens, her drinking style, it basically just went back to where it was. And she is actually 2 years sober now, which is absolutely amazing again. And yeah, I'd say my parents then split up when I was maybe 11 years old, and I just saw it as an excuse to basically just go off the rails. I went quite naughty. I was skiving school, drinking alcohol in the school field. I was smoking and all kinds, and I was just being an absolute nuisance. And I remember this one time, my mum got a call from my friend's mum, and basically the mum told my mum that she saw me smoking and drinking in the field, and my mum was absolutely heartbroken, but it didn't stop me. Then after that, I would like borrow my cousin's ID and I'd go to like Liverpool, Chester, all the night clubbing. From that, yeah, university, I don't need to explain much. I went into hospitality, and honestly, I was encouraged to drink on shift, which was absolutely wild. Then to celebrate graduating university, I booked a one-way flight to Ibiza and did a season. Again, I don't really need to explain it too much about that. But the thing is, after that season, I actually came home a little bit early because I was like, I'm done now. I'm absolutely done with the hangovers, the anxiety. It's just the things that happen with alcohol was just not okay. So I came home and I had my first night out with all of my friends. And the next day I woke up and I ran downstairs to my mum and I was like, Mum, oh my God, I'm going back to Ibiza. You're going to have to take me back to the airport in like 3 hours. And my mum was going mad because she used to always say, there's just always something with you. You always just bring so much chaos into the house. So mum was like, Faye, you've not even unpacked. Just suitcases on the floor. You've not even unpacked and you're going back. And I was like, Mum, just please take me to the airport. So then I went back to Ibiza, but I booked this in a blackout. I do not remember booking the flight back to Ibiza. Like this was just the normal, just booking things, being so impulsive whilst drinking. And yeah, from that, I got my first graduate job at after university. And at the start it was good, but I was so used to drinking like whenever I could. Like in university, you get to drink every single day if you like. And I went into a full-time job, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And I was just getting frustrated. I was living for the weekend. I was doing a job that I didn't really like, living for the weekend. And then on a Friday, I'd go out with the girls, go on the sesh. And yeah, I wouldn't come home most days till like Sunday, most weeks till Sunday. It was just, it was chaos. And then I got really fed up and I decided, right, I'm going to book a one-way flight to Australia. And I booked a one-way flight to Australia. And yeah, my drinking honestly ramped up even more because I think because I wasn't near my mum, I wasn't near my brothers, and I was just able to do what I want. And honestly, my drinking just ramped up insane amounts. My mum would message me, my family would message me to say, Faye, watch your drinking. Like it looks like you're drinking too much. And I used to think, oh, you're just jealous of my lifetime. You're just jealous that I'm in Australia living my life. And then and then I did meet my boyfriend drinking. So both in the same friendship group. And yeah, we met drinking and we got together. But because of drinking, I think, with alcohol, we did end up having a few arguments drinking. And from there, he actually decided to do like a marathon, Ironman, and triathlons and took many breaks. And I used to watch him and think, wow, you look absolutely amazing whilst not drinking. You've got so much motivation. You're so happy. Like I was so jealous. But for me, I didn't want to remove alcohol yet. So I think I did about 3 weeks here and there. But then the final straw for me was that I went to a family wedding. And everyone used to always say to me, Faye, can you not just like control your drinking? Can you not control when you black out and stuff? And I was like, no, like it just happened. So the final straw was I went on holiday for my cousin's wedding. It was the first cousin of all the cousins to get married. I flew from Australia to Dubai. My mum and family flew from Chester to Dubai. Family from China, Canada. We came from everywhere for this wedding. And on the first night I met everybody, I think I got so excited that I ended up getting so drunk that the next day I woke up and thought, oh my God, how am I home? What happened? And then I wish I could tell you like that was the end of that drinking on that holiday, but that was my drinking the whole holiday. And then on the final night of the holiday to the day after the wedding, I basically had too much to drink, and sometimes what happens is, I've got no impulse control when I drink, and I said something, I kicked off a little bit, and well, maybe a bit, and my mum put me in a taxi, and I didn't get to say goodbye to my stepdad, my brothers, my cousin whose wedding it was, his wife, my aunties, uncles. I didn't get to say goodbye to anybody, and I flew back home to Sydney the next day, and on that plane I was thinking, wow. On the way, I set the intention that I would meditate because before the holiday, I just took 3 weeks off alcohol and I was meditating consistently. I was journaling, working out, walking. And I really wanted to spend time with my mum because obviously I don't see her much. And on that plane home, I was thinking, well, what have I done? I didn't meditate, I didn't journal, I didn't work out, I didn't go on a walk. I barely saw my mum because I was either in bed hungover or I was in a blackout and I didn't get to sightsee. What have I done? And on that plane, I said to myself, like, enough is enough. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. And it was only a couple of months after I realised that on that day, I decided to do 6 months alcohol free. That was Valentine's. So that was like the biggest act of self-love that I could have given myself. Sorry, did I just go through my whole story? Did you ask me about my childhood?
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing all of that too. That kind of kicked things off. I want to go back a little bit more too, though, more towards of like growing up. I think a lot of people share. We get a kind of different stories. Some people it starts off tough or difficult from them for the beginning with maybe coming into the world and stuff. And for you, it sounds like that is another very common thing. Maybe more common, I feel, in the earlier part of the podcast, of parents separating. That changes the dynamics or definitely does. What do you think it was that, kept you interested? You grew up around it a bit, you shared there. I'm always so curious about what keeps us going when things start to get a little bit rocky to where some of my friends growing up, when things got rocky, they walked away. I never could.
Walk away from alcohol, yeah. When things were rocky for me, I leaned more into alcohol. Alcohol was my crutch, they say. And the thing is as well, maybe about 2 years ago, I was working with a psychologist, and we were talking about like reasons why I drank and maybe what could have happened in my childhood. And I used to drink a lot when, things were really difficult. Things were really, really challenging. I didn't want to face the emotion. I would numb. And we think that came from, yeah, exactly. When my mum and dad split up, straight away, I used alcohol. And what I used to do as well was I would ring my dad and I'd basically like play him. I'd be like, Dad, because my dad was only allowed to see me on a Sunday. I would say, Dad, can you bring me and the girls a bottle of vodka, and I won't tell mum, and we'll hang out for like an hour or something. And of course, my dad would do anything to see me, anything to keep me happy. So he would then bring me a bottle of vodka, and then I started drinking every single weekend because as well I thought, wow, I'm so cool. My dad, I was only young, like 13, 15. So I thought I was so cool that my dad was bringing me bottles of vodka when all of my friends' mum and dads were like maybe giving them bottles of wine or Smirnoff, some of the low form of alcohol. But yeah, I think very early on, I've never really got to manage my emotions. I've always numbed them, and it's just that habit that I got into straight away. But also, I think I was screaming for attention. I kind of knew what I was doing. I was playing my dad, getting him to see me, but I knew that my mum would probably find out. Like, of course she would find out. Like, she already got this phone call from my friend's mum saying that I was smoking and drinking. So I kind of knew what was happening. And I think, yeah, it was attention. I really wanted the attention. At that time, the attention wasn't on me. It was on the separation. It was my mum and dad's divorce was awful. It was absolutely awful. I remember it being awful. So I think, yeah, I was screaming for attention.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense too. And the mix going on there. Where exactly did you grow up?
So I grew up in a place called Chester. So it's in between Liverpool and Manchester, and it's absolutely stunning. It's a gorgeous little town, and we live just by the school, maybe a 10-minute walk from the school. So yeah, we used to drink a lot on the field. It was just really convenient, the school to drink on.
Yeah, a place to hang out at. Yeah. Yeah. So as you kind of go through all of this, I mean, is there a point in time where you maybe have a thought of, this isn't really headed in the direction maybe I want to go with things, or hey, maybe this is a problem or anything like that? Or was this closer towards the end of things?
I think mainly towards the end, but there was this instance where I was 15 years old. I was working in a cafe, and my manager, a male manager, took me for drinks. He was, God, maybe about 40 and I was 14. And he brought me home in his Porsche, and apparently I fell out of his car outside my mum's house. My mum obviously ran out the door, grabbed me, was screaming at him. I can't remember anything. Then the next day I woke up at my dad's house, and I was thinking, like, where am I? Because we didn't used to spend that much time with my dad. And it was just, we didn't go to my dad's much. So I was like, Dad, why am I here? And he said, Faye, your mother called me. You were really drunk. Some guy was dropping you off in a Porsche, and she didn't know what to do with you, and you're here. And at that point, I did think, okay, wow, like this probably isn't too good. And I had plans the next day, and I couldn't go to the plans because my mum basically said I had to stay with my dad for a little bit. So it did ruin my plans as well. And I did think, wow, I don't even remember anything. I don't remember getting dropped off. I don't remember being at the pub. I don't remember coming to my dad's. And yeah, I think that was a bit of a problem. But I kept going back. The amount of times and the amount of things that have happened during blackouts, I've still kept going back. Like a recent time, well, not so recent, maybe about 5 years ago, I was in Australia, my first Christmas away from home. I was in a blackout. I lost my Pandora bracelet, which all of my family basically bought me charms. Also lost my phone. No, not my phone, sorry. I lost my bag with my passport, driving license, all my bank cards, English bank cards, Australian bank cards, keys, makeup bag, everything. I lost everything. And I was heartbroken. I cried for days. But what happened 3 days later, I was still back drinking and still back blacking out. And to be honest, now I didn't think it was that much of a problem until I'd say about a year and a half ago, I found the quote by Julie, what's her name? Julie Newman, I think. And the quote basically says, if you, most people who black out get so scared on that first blackout that they either stop drinking or that they slow down their drinking to not have these blackouts. And for me, it came my normality to black out every single weekend. And I just expected it. And I thought as well, everyone blacked out. And it was really crazy. Recently, when I stopped drinking, I realized that not everyone blacks out, which just feels like I'm shocked that not everybody blacks out. And I've realized that people who don't black out think that people who black out are telling lies, like we're making it up.
Yeah. Well, some of the stuff you mentioned there, and I mean, just some of the things I've heard over the years too, in my own experiences to throw into the hat as well, like it's very risky. My goodness, it's really risky to not remember and not really know what's going on and or not at all know what's going on and stuff too. So you're going through all of this and you're thinking to yourself that this is kind of everybody's experience with it. Did you have because I'm so curious about this too, different people's experiences. Some people share didn't really have an idea of when it would happen. You know, one time it was maybe, I don't know if this is it, but, you know, maybe 2 drinks. And then another time it was 8 drinks but didn't really know exactly when it would happen.
Yeah. I couldn't predict it. Sometimes I wouldn't black out after 2 drinks. I'd say it would be maybe about 6 or 8 drinks. But like you said, like I couldn't tell you if I was going to black out, but it did happen most of the time. But another thing that I recently learned as well was the more stressed I was. So I suffered with social anxiety, and I think a lot of people do, and that's why we drink. And the more anxious I would be, the more drunk I would get. And then that is when I would black out. That is when things would go horrifically wrong. So I don't know if you experienced that as well. The more anxious or stressed, the more drunk you got.
Yeah, I mean, I never really blacked out from alcohol, maybe once, but when I did Xanax and alcohol, that's when I blacked out. And I had some scary close calls where things could have definitely went the other way. Really bad, could have went really bad. Luckily they didn't, but they could have. There was a huge potential there for things going the other way. You bring that up too, the social anxiety aspect of things. I mean, is that your entire life or that you've had that going on, or was that like when you started drinking or no?
To be honest, I think with the social anxiety, I think I never allowed myself to experience socializing without alcohol because I was drinking from whenever my mum and dad split up, I think about 11, 13, I'd say. From 13, I was drinking every single weekend. We'd go to the field or go to a party. So I just don't feel that I allowed myself to experience what socializing was like without alcohol. So then I felt like I needed it. If I didn't have it, then I feel like I experienced social anxiety. Because even now, 2.5 years sober, sometimes I will get social anxiety, but it's not as bad as it was. And I've learned as well, social anxiety, it's so normal. It's there to protect us. And I remember hearing the analogy, like if you even think about being a child, like going to a child's party, what would happen? At the start, you would be wrapped around your mum's leg and you wouldn't want to let go of your mum. And then give it maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes. You would like read the room, figure out the people who are there, figure out the energy, the vibe. And then by the end of the party, you'd be crying again to your mum saying you don't want to go home, you're having too much fun. So I've learned as well, like social anxiety is very normal, but yeah, I do experience it a little bit, but hardly now, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's relatable. I mean, people talk about alcohol as kind of being that social lubricant too, right? I mean, you go out and you drink. And that's a big part. It played a big role played for me in the beginning, because then I could go places and I was so uncomfortable in my own skin. Well, I just drink some, just start drinking, and then everything that kind of slides away. And then other people are doing it too. But yeah. And then like what you mentioned there too, I think is like so important to highlight, is that the more and more we lean on alcohol in any area of our life, right now we're talking about the social situations too, we can just easily become dependent on it to provide that. It's like an easy reach of like, okay, I'm uncomfortable in this situation. Here's a very easy solution to, make me feel a little bit more comfortable and, fit into the crowd or whatever it is. Was a lot of your drinking done like partying and being out club? You mentioned earlier clubs and that whole scene.
Yeah, definitely. Growing up, it was definitely going to clubs, going to pubs. In Australia, wow, just the festivals and everything. But I'd say towards the end of my drinking, I did kind of come away from the partying as much as I used to. And then I did go towards more using alcohol to relax, using it at the end of the week. To wind down, to de-stress, to celebrate. But yeah, we would still go out for meals, and every time we'd go for a meal, I'd need a wine or a prosecco. And like some meals, like we'd go for a nice meal, and the next day I'd wake up and I wouldn't have a clue how we got home. So yeah, it's just all the time. Any opportunity there was to drink, I would take advantage, and I would just take it too far. It was like I would drink until I couldn't. That's how it was. I would drink until I was until I fell asleep, until my body had just shut down because I was that drunk that I would stop.
Yeah. Did you know anybody that was sober around you or that didn't drink?
Yeah, so leading up to the end of my drinking period, one of my good friends, and she, like me, was quite a bit of a party girl. Like there's one time me and her were working in a company, and my marketing manager said to me, Faye, will you go to this networking event? And I was like, yeah, oh my God, that'd be free Prosecco, free alcohol, free cocktails. And I was like, can my friend Holly in the different team come with me? And she was like, yeah, of course. And we went there. And at the start, I took it slow. I was drinking water. And then at the end of the night, like I was just going for it because I just had no off switch. Once I started, it was risky. There was no off switch. And I just remember the next day, I woke up at some random house with Holly. We'd been at this house party. And I was trying to get the taxi man to take me to my car so I could drive to work. And he was like, love, I am not taking you to your car. You stink of alcohol. And then we went back to my friend Holly's, and she was already off. I can't remember why, but she was off. And then she drove me to work in her clothes. And I remember everyone being like, Faye, are you wearing Holly's clothes? And I was like, no, they're mine, even though I went to work really late. But yeah, Holly is now 3 years sober. I think she was a bit over 3 years sober. And I just watched her. I was just thinking, wow, like you are like me. You're similar. We've got a similar drinking style. And I used to watch her. She was going out doing all the same things that she was doing when she was drinking. Like she'd still go to all the parties, she'd still go to all the brunches, she'd still go to meals, events, festivals. She was doing everything. And the next day I'd watch her Instagram. She'd go for a gorgeous little walk. She would go to yoga. It looked to me like she was actually living the best of both worlds. She could go out in the evening and then have the most amazing morning as well. So I did have her to be inspired by.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, and follow along too. I mean, I think that's a big fear people have, though, is am I going to have any fun sort of on this other side of things? I'm wondering for you if there's a time where you could pinpoint sort of where, I think there's like these cycles that happens when it comes to drinking, right? There's like before drinking where we probably never even really think about it. It's not like we wake up in the morning or wondering if we're going to be drinking this weekend. And then we get into drinking and then it's like, can't wait for the weekends or whatever it is. And then I think we end up at this spot where living life without it seems so far out of reach, impossible. Mm-hmm. Like why would I even entertain that? I mean, is that relatable at all to get to a spot in life where I remember having it myself of like, oh my gosh, a life without alcohol. Like, is there even a point of being alive type thing? And I'm always so curious about how that transition takes place, because there's a lot of people who listen to the show and they're going to say, oh my goodness, like they're at a spot right now in their life where without alcohol, it's like, what's the point? But the wild thing is, the further we get on this journey, it's like, oh my gosh, like where I sit today, not judgmental towards anybody who still drinks alcohol, to each their own, but it doesn't make any sense at all. And it wouldn't for me to bring it back into my life. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, can definitely relate. I have girls always messaging me as well on Instagram, and they're like, wow, you're doing so well, you're inspiring me, but I can't see myself removing alcohol forever. And I said, if going back to when I was still drinking, if someone said to me, Faye, why don't you remove alcohol forever? I would have told them to shut up, basically. Like, I would have said no. For me, even at the start of my sobriety, I was never removing alcohol forever. I was never removing alcohol forever, because alcohol to me was my everything. Alcohol was for socializing. I was thinking, if I remove alcohol, how am I going to make friends? How am I going to socialize? How am I going to go to a wedding? How am I going to go to a christening? How am I going to go to work drinks? How am I going to go to a bottomless brunch? Like, honestly, the list was endless. Like you said, like, I was thinking, what is the point of a life without alcohol? Because alcohol was everything, everything. So I can 100% relate to that. And I just, at the start of my sobriety, I just give myself a 6-month experiment. That's all it was. It was just, I tried to look at it like an exciting experiment. I didn't tell myself it's forever. I just thought, it was actually 3 months into my sobriety, I saw a quote, and it was like, most people don't change because they focus too much on what they're giving up instead of what they're gaining. And that quote for me just lit up in my brain as like a light bulb switch. And then I started to look at what I was gaining. And it was honestly that moment where I thought, wow, I'm actually gaining so much more by not drinking than I would to drink. And it was honestly about 3 months into my sobriety that I was thinking, oh my God, I'm actually not going to go back to drinking. I'm really not going to go back to drinking. But I do think, this is my opinion, and I'd love to hear your opinion, but I just think at the start, don't tell yourself forever. Just see it as an experiment and just take the one day at a time. Yeah, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't spend much time in forevers, because I mean, the reality is tomorrow that could be it for me. So, I mean, that's kind of like maybe the dark truth of it, of everything, right? But I think that's the reality. Like, why am I going to worry about, for somebody starting out, of hitting 1 year and 2 years and 10 years? Like, I mean, in all areas of life. And it's not like in my life today, I'm not fighting not to drink. I mean, I have other things I'm working on, but like my life is not like it was in the beginning, where I'm just like, oh my goodness, my first year, I'm like, just don't drink, whatever you do. Just, remember what they told you, right? Whatever it takes. You have all these scenarios playing out. And then in today's world, I mean, that passes, right? And I think a lot of people, very relatable. It makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, you just listed off, like you said, 5 or 6 points about how your life revolved around the substance, the drug, alcohol. And a life without it, it can feel like, my goodness, what am I going to do? Like, what? I think the word identity really stands out to me when I kind of hear that about, this is who we are. This is how people expect us to show up in the world. This is like, what are they going to think if I'm not drinking? And the reality is too, things with us might change a little bit. I hear from a lot of people, they're like, I'm an introvert and I never realized it until I quit drinking. I'd rather hang out at home. I don't like the chaos and unpredictability of going out as much. And I think that that's a lot of our stories too, is that we were using the alcohol to really be, I don't know if it's relatable, but I always remember this quote, and I don't know where it's from, but it was like, who were you before the world told you who you had to be, or something? And I just think like that's a big part of like the alcohol journey to where, everything's all right for a bit. I think for most people, everything's okay for a bit. And then we lean more and more to it. And I always say the more we lean into it, the less we lean into maybe more healthy ways to go through life. And I think you brought up a great example of that, of emotions, like how to feel them, how to work through them, how to manage them, how to identify them. And we don't learn that stuff. It's like, that's why a lot of people say, I want to get sober. And I say, man, that's great. Like, that's great. But there's also a skill set involved with staying sober. I mean, getting sober is like, okay, I didn't drink today, but that's only going to get us so far. It's like learning those other things you kind of brought up. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for the one day at a time and not saying forever. I think forever can be really overwhelming for people. So yeah, I mean, just don't drink today and see where you land and decide for tomorrow when you get up if you want.
I love that. Oh my God, I've got my ADHD brain. I've got 1,000,010 things to say after that. One thing I really want to say quickly is what you were just saying is, and I saw a quote and it was like, sobriety at the start is not how it feels forever. And I remember hearing that quote and I was like, oh, I don't know. I felt like I could have a massive sigh and it was a bit of relief that sobriety at the start is not how it feels forever. So I think that's a really, really important point because, sobriety for me at the start was really difficult. Like I got sober in summer in Australia. I am a UK girl where binge drinking is so, so, so normal. As soon as I used to see the sun, that was Aperol Spritz time, it was Prosecco time, it was cocktail time. Like it meant it was drinking time. And yeah, definitely going back to the identity as well. So me, I was Faye, the party girl. And I just thought, like, who am I? If I remove alcohol, like, who am I without alcohol? Like, that just seemed absolutely crazy. Because as well, like, I was talking about the drinking ego. I had this, like, really cringeworthy ego now I come to think about it. But I used to basically think like I was some like tomboy, this like dealer when I was drinking. Like I really, really thought I was dead cool, gangster style. And yeah, I just thought like, who am I without the alcohol? Oh, I know what I was gonna say as well. And just going back to like when you remove alcohol, like, yeah, I thought when I was drinking, I was an extrovert. I needed to be out. I was so loud. I was always going to a party. If anyone asked me to go to a party, I would be first to say yes, or I'd be like arranging the party. Like, I was such an extrovert whilst drinking. And I have exactly what you said, realized like, now I've removed alcohol, like I actually do love my own space. I have really invested in my living room, in my office. It just made everything so cozy. And I love that. I absolutely love that. I've made at the start of my sobriety, I did make an effort because I seen another quote and it was like, make your sobriety sacred. So I started getting like little cushions, little candles. And yeah, I just saw it as a time to like go all in on my self-love, like give back to myself. But yeah, it's just so crazy. Oh yeah, and another thing that you said as well about the alcohol is your social lubricant. So even as well, when I was drinking, there would be times where actually I didn't want to go to events, but I knew if I had a couple of drinks, I wouldn't care. I would be having the time of my life. So I would use alcohol to basically force me to get through things. And I always say now to like the girls I work with, girls in my DMs, to say like, do you actually want to go? If you remove alcohol, do you want to go to that event? Because most of the time we actually don't. And there's a quote by Mark Manson, another quote, God, I'm throwing the quotes about. But Mark Manson says, if you need alcohol to enjoy the thing or person, then you actually don't enjoy the thing or person. And again, that really, really, really hit home. Like for me, I used to force myself to work drinks. I actually used to force myself. I never wanted to go. It was the alcohol that I wanted. It wasn't the people. We didn't share the same values. We just, didn't share the same. This is in a previous job. And as soon as I removed alcohol, I realized like they're just not my people. And I don't want to give them my energy. With sobriety, I've realized how precious my energy and my time is, that if I don't want to do it, I won't do it. I'm going to protect myself and have boundaries, which another thing, boundaries I did not have at all when I was drinking. Did you?
Yeah. No, not really. No, not really. No, not at all. I mean, and I think these are all good points of sort of the process in sort of trusting the process too of not drinking, of getting sober, and of moving through this. And I mean, initially it's like, none of this other work can happen while we're still drinking. So it's like the not drinking part is like, okay, that's the big mountain to climb. But I think we'd be setting ourselves up to say, hey, you know what? That's all that needs to be done. Because sometimes you just see it out there. It's like, yeah, I quit drinking and my life changed. And it's like, yeah, I mean, but there had to be more effort that we put in, with time, right? But that is, of course, that is the starting line. And you're so right. I mean, where you start anything in life is not where you finish.
No,
It's same goes for this journey as well.
Yeah, no, you just made me remember something else that I wanted to say. So we were talking before about like drinking. Yeah, removing alcohol is only, I'd say, 10% of it. It really is 10%. But the hard part is everything else. And I actually tried to remove alcohol, I'd say about 3 months before I actually removed alcohol. I was convinced I am going to stop drinking. So I went home to England. I was with my mum again. And it was in November. And my mum did like a Christmas in November because obviously I was home from Sydney, I was in England, and my mum spent so much time making like a Christmas dinner, putting the Christmas tree up and everything. And me and my brothers went out with all of my friends the night before, and we basically crawled in. And I mean, we crawled through the door at 6 o'clock in the morning. And my mum had honestly put so much effort into it. And I was like, Mum, just don't speak to me. I'm so ill. My head's banging. I need to go to bed. And my mum bought like champagne and orange juice. Me and my mum were both drinking at this time. And I was like, Mum, I can't, I'm going to be sick. Like, please get that out of my face. And I was horrible. Like, when I was drinking, I was so selfish. It was all about me. And at the end of the night, I didn't drink at all that day. I was like, I just can't. And I was like, Mum, I'm going to stop. I've just ruined another day for us all. Like, this is going to be a gorgeous family day, and I've just ruined it. And I honestly thought, Brad, that day, that was it. I was going to stop because just my drinking, the blackouts. And because I didn't do any of the work, I didn't realize, I didn't know there was other things you needed to learn. As soon as I flew back to Sydney, I saw the sun. Literally the day I landed, I went on a walk, a nice, gorgeous coastal walk with my partner, Joe. We ended up in the pub, and I ended up again blacking out, and I was straight back to drinking. So there is so much work. You do need to prepare. Like, I didn't know that I was going to get like triggers. You've got all of these associations, the reasons why you drink. Like, in that case, I think, to be honest, I think I was stressed. Again, it was to numb out. I was stressed. I just come back to Australia. I didn't have a job. Like, there was a lot of reasons why I was drinking, and I didn't have a clue. There's actually a bigger reason behind the drink. It's not just that you want the drink. Like, if when I was drinking, someone would say, "Oh, why'd you drink?" I would say, "Oh, I just love the taste." Like, I just love the taste. That's what I used to say all the time. It's just so lovely. But it wasn't until I got sober and I joined a course learning, oh my God, I drink because I'm stressed. I'm drinking because I'm lonely, but I didn't even think I'm lonely. How can I be lonely? I've got so many people around me. But lonely was one. There was so many reasons. Like, self-care. I thought alcohol was self-care. I thought on a Friday night after a really stressful week, I was going to say one glass of wine, but that's an absolute lie. I'd say like self-care was 2 bottles of wine. Like, I used to think that was self-care. It wasn't until I did the course that I realized, oh my God, alcohol will spike your cortisol. Yes, you get that dopamine hit for maybe 20 minutes of the drink, but then the cortisol spike the next day, it's just adding way more stress. So for a person like me, a high achiever, I have like these massive to-do lists, so many projects on, all these schedules, and I'm just so ambitious. And I'd be so stressed by Friday that I would need a drink. And then all weekend I wouldn't have touched my to-do list because I was so hungover. Then on Monday, to overcompensate, I would add even more add more onto my to-do list. And then I was just back in that cycle again Friday. So yeah, there's so much more than just removing alcohol. Even looking at your values. I didn't even know what a value was. Self-compassion. Oh my goodness me. I didn't know what self-compassion was before sobriety. I used to be so horrible when I was drinking. Horrible to myself, calling myself all kinds in the mirror. Oh my God, look at you, state of you. You can't do anything with your life. You're such a failure. Did this, do that. And I thought that would motivate me to do better. I've since learned in sobriety, self-compassion is the only thing that's going to motivate you, get you through, being your best friend. Like when I was drinking, another thing quickly, sorry, my ADHD brain's going a bit wild. But another thing, like when I was drinking, I had no self-love whatsoever, because how can anyone have self-love when you're always losing your passport, losing your phone, your bag, you've upset your boyfriend, your mum, everyone, losing everything. Like you can't have self-love. How can you wouldn't love your brother if they kept losing your phone and that. So you wouldn't have the same love for yourself. So I had no self-love whatsoever. And I remember at the start of my sobriety, I was reading a book, and it was a self-love book because I knew myself was just in the pit. And it said, you can't work on your self-love if you are living in shame, regret, and guilt. And I was like, oh my God, whilst I am drinking, I am in that constant cycle. Like maybe I didn't drink Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but on like a Thursday, I got in the mood. So Thursday, I was drinking. Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Australia, Sunday's a big drinking day. I had no self-love whatsoever. And it was only until I removed alcohol that I actually gave myself room to stop being kind to myself. And honestly, I've become like my best friend and become my biggest hype girl, which it feels unheard of.
Yeah. So the self-love, self-compassion, yeah, a ton of areas of, the process that you just brought up there. Yeah. It's kind of the way that the drinking goes is we tell ourselves time and time again, I'm just going to have a little bit and it's not going to be bad tonight. And then it turns out we have more than we wanted to, or more than we had committed to ourselves having. So we lose trust in ourselves, and you compound that over years. It's like, yeah, we can't trust ourselves anymore to do what we say we're going to do or follow through with stuff. And it's so unpredictable, and the chaos and the shame and the guilt. And yeah, I mean, all that stuff adds up, right? It really adds up over the years too, of each one of these situations, maybe not massive on their own, but they're each kind of taken away a little bit. I think every time these things happen, I was anyway, I was just disappointed in myself. I'm like, gosh, this isn't the way I was raised to be living like this. And then you brought up that other thing too about selfish and just worrying about ourselves. And then I think denial is a big part, was for me anyway. Like, no, come on, look at John over there. I mean, John is really ruining his life. Not me though. Like I'm not as bad as him, So I think that kept me going for a little bit too. How old are you now? And how old, I mean, how old you are now, I guess we could kind of piece it together of how old you were when you got sober.
Yeah, so I'm 30 now. I got sober when I was 27, so 2.5 years ago. And I
Yeah.
think it wasn't really a rock bottom. It was a accumulation of lots of things. There was lots of things
Mm-hmm.
going on. But I do want to add as well, so and maybe a bit of my story as well is whilst I was seeing my psychologist was saying, like, Faye, there's someone else with you. We need to look into it. She made me go to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist diagnosed me with ADHD. And we were talking
Yeah.
about like symptoms like the impulse control.
Sorry. Was this before or after you got sober?
So this was before I got
Okay.
diagnosed, before I got
Okay.
sober.
Gotcha.
And I remember, like, I did think maybe I've got it after my psychologist told me, but I've never really thought I was ADHD, because growing up, I was always the dyslexic one. I was the one who got the words muddled up and couldn't spell. It was my sister. My sister's the ADHD one. So I went to the psychiatrist, and he asked me to bring like my dyslexia reports, school reports, and like we read it, and it was like Faye can't sit still, Faye can't listen, Faye can't obtain information, and he was like, yeah. And then we talked about my drinking and relationships, like the impulse control, decision making. Oh my goodness, procrastinating, emotional regulation. And when we were talking about it, because I did go on down the medication route, but at the start he was telling me, because I had to go for a few sessions with him before he would medicate me anyway. But he was warning me. He was like, if you do go down the medication route, alcohol, it's really doesn't go well with alcohol. Medication and alcohol don't go well. Your symptoms will exacerbate. The mood regulation would be even worse the next day. So that was like a huge part as well. And I think, yeah, then I got sober. I was starting to listen in to podcasts about ADHD and alcohol, and I was thinking, yeah, maybe it is a sign, because I didn't realize most people with ADHD do self-medicate on alcohol. Like most people with ADHD, like we have such a scattered brain, as you can tell today.
Yeah.
And we use alcohol to, yeah, calm our nerves, to chill out, be more calmer. And yeah, I think listening to a few podcasts, I was like, okay, if I want to go down the medication route, I need to remove alcohol. So that was a big part of my journey. And I tried medication for about a year and a half, and I'd say it did really, really help for a year and a half. But what my sister told me was, and my sister used to be medicated as well, is the medication, just use it for a short period, learn the strategies. I was still seeing my psychologist, learn the strategies, because when you're on the ADHD medication, it helps you absorb things a lot better and help to build new habits. And I think in that year and a half, without the alcohol and the ADHD medication, it did really, really help to build my habits. And now I'm off medication. I've been off medication maybe a year. And honestly, my ADHD symptoms, obviously I've got them, like, goodness me, I locked myself out 2 weeks ago. I've just lost the keys of my old apartment. I've just moved house and I've lost them. So I still have some things. But honestly, since removing alcohol with the ADHD, my symptoms have lowered, 100% lowered, because yeah, alcohol at the end of the day, it just makes you so much more impulsive. Like whilst I was drinking, I had no impulse control. Like my boyfriend was so worried because I would just keep buying courses. Like I'm so curious, I hyper focus a lot, I'm just always learning books and stuff, and I had no impulse control whatsoever. And since removing alcohol, even my little brother, he gave my mum a compliment and was like, yeah, Faye's actually really content now. And like that's actually a big compliment off my brother. I actually really, really felt that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That is so interesting too. Yeah, I mean, the self-medicating ADHD too. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there too that says it runs in, families. So I would be, even curious if tracking it back in sort of your family. I mean, I know I have it. I know I can track it back in my family. A lot of people have never really explored it. I know that. And they choose to lean into alcohol heavy, and it's very, it's not probably the best choice, but yeah, it's all of those things, right? I remember when I was recently going through my assessment to, for the ADHD, right? They're going back in childhood, but I could pinpoint the time exactly like it was yesterday. I mean, I had been on medication probably ever since I was 8 till I was about 17. And then I came up with this genius idea just to quit taking any medication. And, I know I could see it clear as day. My life was a dumpster fire overnight. Jail, rehab, everything. And when I look back, that's what a lot of it comes back to. I mean, I just didn't have sort of the skills, or you don't know what you don't know. I had no idea what I was really doing. I didn't really understand the scope of the medication I was taking and in what, was helping me with. But, there's kind of pros and cons to a lot of things, right? And at that time, I guess, at 17, I had the world figured out, and then I was going to start making different choices. But it's interesting too, because I think with some of this stuff and maybe some other things, when we're drinking, we don't really actually know what's going on. Maybe 100%. I think when we get sober, I hear a lot of people in their first year and maybe even into their second year. I think a big part of our first year is like our mind is really occupied with not drinking. So it keeps us fairly busy. Our second year, we kind of start asking like, now what, what's next for me? What am I going to work on now? And I think that's when people can maybe realize too, like, hey, what what was alcohol masking something else, or because something else going to kind of show up? A lot of people ask me too, Brad, what do I need to be working on? I don't know what I need to be working on. I'm like, just hang tight. It'll come to the surface. Like you just hang in there. A lot of this stuff will kind of show up, but your awareness increases the longer you're not drinking, to say like, okay, maybe there's something here. But it is interesting. I mean, I looked it up too. I think it was, I don't want to get the stat wrong completely, so just take it for what it's worth, team. But I think it's at 50% of people, without treating or undiagnosed ADHD can struggle with substance use disorder from this one study they had. So, I mean, that's like a really big thing too. And there's plenty of ways to, work with the ADHD. It doesn't have to be medication. There's plenty of different options, but it's just saying basically untreated, not doing anything is definitely riskier.
Yeah, I think I read the same study about the 50%. Like it is, and it goes hand in hand, I'd say as well. Like even if I think about it with my mom, like my mom is definitely typical ADHD. Even my nan, bless her. Oh my God. So yeah, just so funny. But yeah, it's just, I feel like the more you learn about it, the better you can manage it as well. And I think it's gone hand in hand, my sobriety and learning about ADHD. So my sobriety has allowed me to start eating healthy. When I was drinking, oh my God, because I'd be hungover, because I'd be lazy, I'd be having like McDonald's, I'd be having like a pizza like all the time. I'd be eating rubbish.
They have Taco Bell in Australia?
No, I don't think we do.
No?
Oh my God.
You ever been to Taco Bell? No.
No.
Oh, well, you're not missing out on much.
Oh, no. So yeah, I feel like it just went hand in hand. So being sober has allowed me to be healthy, exercise, which I didn't do a lot of when I was hungover, and because I'm eating healthy, because I'm exercising, it really has helped my ADHD. Like it's crazy, and even my psychologist does say that is a link, and we always set like mini goals. What can I do this week? And just looking after me, like sleeping. I didn't used to sleep obviously a lot when you're drinking because it just ruins your REM sleep. But it's just like a domino effect, and yeah, it's amazing. Like you wouldn't think just removing one thing, just removing alcohol, would help so many different areas of your life. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's a home run right there, because it does. Yeah, it really does. I mean, I think if you fall into, under an umbrella of things being a problem, or, just being so far out of line with who we are, at our core, it doesn't really line up. It improves so many areas of like everything. I can't sit here and tell you one area in my life that hasn't improved. Like, I mean, there's not one. There's not one area. I mean, relationships, I mean, finances is huge too. I mean, that causes a lot of stress in life too. And, spending all this money on this, going out. Like I remember we used to go out. I mean, it was nothing to spend $200 that I didn't have on my Capital One credit card that, was way overdue. Like, all of that stuff, right? That would add up, and all the other areas of life as far as our mental health, physical health, our motivation to really do a heck of a lot. I mean, I saw something the other day. It said, you're hungover like one day a week or one weekend. I mean, 52 weekends a year. It's 52 days. When I look back and I was, wonder, well, nothing good happens for me, or I don't catch a break and everybody else gets a break. And, I look back at it now from a different lens, one of compassion too. Like you brought up earlier, I think it's great. It's like, hey, what was. We can't go back and change it. But also realizing too, and being honest with myself, well, the reason I wasn't catching any breaks or things weren't happening because I was hungover every morning. So how was I putting it out there to the world that I was prepared to take on a big task? People talk about it all the time when they get sober, like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting these opportunities. I never got any of these opportunities before. And I think there's an element of like, we're letting the universe know, or letting something out there know, or people pick up on it that, hey, we can actually handle these tasks or show up for these opportunities. Anything that really stands out to you over the last 2.5 years that, any struggles you went through or? Any other changes that you noticed that you were just like, hey, that was kind of surprising?
I think one of my favorite things, and I always go on about this, is just my relationship with my family. I didn't
Mm,
realize what a negative effect I was having on my family, like the stress
mm.
with my mum, stress with my brothers. So actually my brothers both had me blocked on social media because
Oh,
they
wow.
couldn't look at me, they couldn't watch me. I was just the nuisance. Just yeah, like police coming to my mum's house, like it was just awful. And since I've removed alcohol, like me and my mum are just the best friends. My mum's sober again now, which is amazing. We've got a
Yeah.
gorgeous relationship. We send each other podcasts, sobriety podcasts. We send each other books. It's absolutely amazing. So my relationship with my mum, but my relationship with my brothers, it's just they would never sit in a room with me if I was drinking. Like
Mm,
they hated me. Like we had no relationship whatsoever. And they're both in Australia with me. And we have
mm,
had the most amazing time going for food, experiences. They've stayed with me. And I've had like alcohol free Prosecco. And I just think like if I was drinking, we wouldn't have had any of that. And I didn't realize what a huge impact relationships are on you, because I think when I was drinking I was like, I don't need my family anyway, like I'm just drinking, like that's it, like I wouldn't want to spend time with them. All I thought of is where am I going to go drinking with friends, who am I going to go drink with.
mm.
And my relationships have just, yeah, family and my partner just and friends, it's been a huge part. I just didn't realize how important they were to me until
Mm.
I removed alcohol.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. So now then you said one of your brothers is staying there, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
both of
yeah,
them? Yeah. Are
yeah.
they older or younger than you?
Younger. So I've got
Oh,
one who is, God, I'll probably get the age just wrong. One's 25 and one's
oh,
27. So this weekend I've got both of them staying with me, which is absolutely amazing. Like I'm so excited for that. And I just think like if I was drinking, they wouldn't have at all come and stayed with me. They would have just thought that was like the worst thing ever. But I'm really excited for
yeah.
the weekend. We'll just like go out and chill and watch TV, and it just be lovely. Yeah. So close now, which is crazy. Like at one point
Yeah.
we were all living together, and my mum used to say, like her friends would say, "Oh, how are your kids?" And my mum would say, "They all live together," and they would say, no, because we used to fight like crazy, and
Yeah.
everyone's just so sharp, but we're just so close since I've removed alcohol.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is one thing that we actually we're talking about it. One of the hosts in the sober motivation community, I jumped on one of her meetings this morning and brought up the topic of relationships and how, we've noticed them change, or how would you, like for them to change? And I think a lot of people's stories the same, is that I always lean on this one quote, and I don't know. I never remember who, or even if it is credited to somebody, but I had the most friends when I was the worst version of myself. And I think that I used to have all these pals, I'm doing air quotes, but I had all these friends and buddies and everything. And now I don't have all these friends and buddies. It's not this massive thing, but there's a ton more value there. And there's so much more to it than what there was before. And I think that is kind of one of the things that, relationships kind of just in general, when we're on this journey, they change a little bit, right? You change with your priorities, and in like you mentioned earlier, the energy, you don't want to be drained all the time by stuff. And sometimes it can feel heavy for me. I mean, I have a lot of people around me who still drink a lot. And when I get those phone calls and get in those conversations, I can almost see my battery just running out, just because it's that chaotic, that, that life, like still living that way. Um, but then on this side, you create more meaningful relationships, plug in, I mean, connect on a deeper level. I mean, one of the biggest lies I bought into with alcohol, that it was helping me connect with people. Like, it's helping me go out to these parties. It's helping me, share what I couldn't share if I wasn't drinking. And now I look back and I'm thinking like, man, I had that wrong. I was so far disconnected from people when I was drinking, and myself included, um, than I am now, living sober and connecting with people, where it's not like fake, I mean, alcohol has that. It's not like everybody's like, social lubricant. Like, I mean, that's great, but was never really me. So it was like, it was never really genuine. I never learned, I think like you touched on earlier, like I didn't learn those skills, how to like genuinely be myself until getting sober. And it was scary because then I'm like, are people going to like me or are they not? And then kind of as you go, you find your crowd, and it might be the 4 quarters is better than 100 pennies. And, I think that's good.
Oh God, I can relate so much to that, especially at the start. I was, when I was drinking, I had so many friends, but like they weren't, were they friends or were they just, well, my boyfriend always says, Faye, they're drinking friends. They're not your real friends.
Yeah.
And when I removed for alcohol, like a lot of my friendships, and I mean a lot, I'd say, maybe 80% of my friendships did part. And at the start, I was absolutely heartbroken. I was scared. I was really, really scared. But it did then allow space. It opened up space for me to make new friends. So now I've got so many friends. I go to a book club, I go to a run club, and these new friends that I've got, they're not all sober, but we've actually got the shared same values. Like we all value personal development and wellness and wholesome things. Whereas my old friends, we valued alcohol. Like, we valued drinking.
Yeah.
And when we removed alcohol, there really wasn't much of a friendship. So at the start, friendships may go, but it creates space to create new, meaningful relationships. Yeah, I love that what you said.
Yeah. And that's a good point too, because I even shared in the meeting this morning that I feel that I held on to some friendships for too long. And by doing that, they took up space that could have been for new opportunities. But I was just new. I was just learning. I was just new. But now with things, I have a good spidey sense, I think, of if they're going to go anywhere and like kind of when is the time to try something else and maybe open up that space for, maybe something else that could connect. Right. So, but it is tough. I mean, but I think that kind of plays into the whole narrative, right? Of us wanting to fit in and be accepted and feel, you talk about the ego, right? Like feel important and this is my purpose and all this stuff that gets tied up into it. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. It's just so much simpler on this side of things. Like, I mean, you talk about your weekend watching TV and going and seeing a couple sites and it's just like, it's so like simple, but so beautiful other than the chaotic, unpredictable madness of things that were in my life before. Just heading towards wrapping up, Faye. Congrats with everything, by the way, too. Really appreciate you jumping on here and sharing with us. Is there anything that stands out to you that you could mention to anybody listening that helped you, get started on this journey or, has helped you stay on it?
Yeah, I would say immerse yourself in the sobriety world. So make sure you're listening to Brad's podcast, Sober Motivation. Just make sure that you are, listen to a podcast every day, go on a walk and prioritize yourself. At this time, you do need to put yourself first. So at the start of your sobriety, if you think going to that work drinks or friends party is going to be a bit overwhelming, don't go. Like, this time is your time. And I'd also say look after your health as well. Prioritize sleep, because I didn't realize when we're not trying to drink, we're actually using a lot more energy, because drinking would be habitual. Like, I didn't realize how habitual my drinking was. Like, Friday equaled a drink. So we are using a lot more energy. So make sure you are prioritizing sleep. Try and eat healthy balance, exercise, and just make sure you still are socializing. Maybe just swap your socializing for early morning things or brunch rather than the evening things. But I'd say they're the 3 main points.
Yeah, those are incredible. So no more McDonald's.
Yeah.
Eat a healthier balance.
Healthy balance.
Yeah. Well, even on that too, because like McDonald's, they used to have salads. Here anyway, they did. Now, I guess after the pandemic and everything, they don't even sell salads anymore. So I was like, okay, well, that's kind of strange. But so food for thought. It's not going to probably be the healthiest of balance for it. No, I love those. Those are great things that have helped you. And I mean, switching up too. I love that too, of hanging out in the morning, but also still connecting. I love the other point you made too about going to your book clubs and your run clubs and how everybody's not sober, but you're on a common path of wellness and improvement, everything like that. I think that's cool too, because sometimes I think it can be overwhelming that we think because we're on this journey of not drinking, everybody around us can't drink. Like we have to find only people who don't drink. And the reality is some people might live in small towns and everybody's situation is a little bit different. I would say you find people that got a good vibration to them in a sense, and not everybody who drinks is going to have a problem. That's another thing I thought when I was like, I have a drinking problem. I was like, everybody who drinks, it's going to be disastrous. I mean, the reality is like, it's not what I would choose to do, but for some people, it's not. It's not. They're not doing it all the time, and you might be able to still, start somewhere with that, with getting a coffee, book club, run club. I mean, there's so much opportunity out there. I think in today's world to really get connected with like-minded people and get your day started off on the right foot. And I mean, community is always a massive thing. We have a lot of people who join the community that maybe they got 6 or 7 months, kind of a solo journey, white knuckling, they call it sometimes, right? About like, I'm just not drinking. And then when they join the community after 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, they're like, gosh, I wish I started here on my first day. Everything would have been so much better, so much easier, knowing that I'm not alone and knowing that there's other people out there and building some relationships and connecting with other people and just being a part of something. It really just changes it. They're just like, man, I should have, I wish I would have. Yeah, but I mean, none of us can go back. It is what it is in today's world. But yeah, being a part of something, right? You don't have to do this alone. You don't have to.
Yeah, it does make it a lot more fun when you're doing it with a community. Definitely makes it more fun because you need to make it fun as well because sobriety, it can seem at the start boring. So you do need to add things in. You can't just remove alcohol and carry on doing the same thing. So yeah, I think adding more fun into it and definitely a community who just gets it.
Yeah. Awesome, Faye. Well, thank you. Great job. 2.5 years and keep it going.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Brad. I really, really enjoyed this talk. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, there it is. Another incredible episode here on the podcast. Thank you for listening along. Keep up the great work out there, Faye. Thank you so much for the support with the show and also joining on to share your story. I'll drop Faye's contact information for Instagram down in the show notes below, and I'll see you on the next one.